yesterday, I only worked 7 hours at the plant, but it was all overtime. It was a Saturday. I could have stayed later, but I wanted to go home and have somewhat of an evening with my wife. I don't get to see her very much the way I work, and my son was spending the night at a friend's house, so hey, why not, right? So I texted her and I said, hey, would you like me to bring home pizza? And she said, yeah, sure, what'd you have in mind? So I sent her a link to a menu for a local pizza place near my work. My boss had catered a meeting with the entire maintenance department the day before with some of this pizza, and I thought, all right, it's pretty good. It's not the best pizza, but it's not bad at all, and it's not a chain of pizza places, right? So I thought, why not? Something different. So I told her, I said, order pizza, salad, subs, wings, whatever you want on the menu. It doesn't matter to me, mix or match, and I'll go pick it up. Just tell me when the pizza will be ready, and that's when I'll clock out. So she ordered it, went around the corner and got it, paid for it with my credit card. Damn right I used my credit card. And the guy says to me before he runs it, would you like to leave a tip? And I like to leave a tip. What? I told him no. I said, I'm picking up the pizza. Why would I leave a tip? He gave me a dirty look. I told him, I said, hey, I used to deliver pizza, and I've driven like 30 miles to get a lousy $1 tip. I know what it's like. I'll tip if the pizza gets delivered, and I tip good. But if I'm picking it up, I'm not leaving a tip. He gave me my credit card, asked me if I wanted my receipt. I said no. Gave me my pizza, salad, and wings. Yeah, I got a salad, New York Outcast. I got a fucking salad. And off I went. Pizza wasn't bad. She liked it. The salad was good. The wings were pretty good too. Pound of I think it was a sweet barbecue sauce on the wings there. It's pretty good. So yeah, we had a good evening. So it got me thinking, this guy kind of thought he was entitled to a tip because I'm driving up there to pick up my food that I ordered. Here's the thing, guys. I do tip, but I typically only tip when food is delivered or when we're being waited on at a restaurant. I rarely tip for anything else. I really don't do a lot of things where I would think a tip is warranted. Now, when I was a teenager, early teens, I delivered newspapers. Back in those days, that's how old I am, okay? And it was $1.65 for 1 week subscription. And a lot of people would just give me $2. I'd get a 35-cent tip from most of my customers. And you might go, that ain't a lot of money. Dude, all I spent my money on back then was like comic books and Big Gulps. So 35 cents added up because I had one of the biggest routes in the district. It worked out. But I did have some customers that absolutely would not tip on the newspaper. Well, those days are kind of gone. But I suppose if I had the paper delivered, I'd probably leave the kid a tip unless he was a little asshole and did a really lousy job. See, that's just it. If you go above and beyond, I think you should get a good tip. But if it's just half-ass or average, then I think you should get a half-ass or average tip. And I don't think you should get a tip for just basically doing your job.
I don't tip because society says I have to. All right, I'll tip if somebody really deserves a tip. If they really put forth the effort, I'll give them something extra. But, this tipping automatically, it's for the birds. As far as I'm concerned, they're just doing their job.
When I delivered papers, for example, I had some of the customers that would give me bigger tips. On Sunday, I'd put 2 packs of coupons in theirs because we had to stuff the papers. And we had the comics with all the sale papers in there and the coupons and stuff. And you could grab as many of those as you wanted because they always had extra. So I would double stuff those. Every customer that gave me a bigger tip, before I even stuffed their papers, before I started doing that, I started giving them double coupons. And some of them noticed. And I said, well, you give me a bigger tip than everybody else. I was going above and beyond, right? And then the people that never tipped and were stingy assholes, or I had to knock on their door 4 times in a week to get my money. I want my $2, right? They would get maybe the paper that was a little bit ripped up or something, the worst one in the lot that I grabbed and carried there. So there's no incentive for me. Now, I'm not saying I wasn't going to deliver their paper, or I'm purposely going to make sure it gets wet or anything else because I wasn't getting a tip, but I'm not going to go above and beyond for you. You might be the last one getting your paper delivered that day or something, that sort of thing, right? But I'm still doing my job. And when I go out to a restaurant to eat, if we're being waited on and it's really good service, they're going to get an above average tip. Now, here's the thing. Sometimes the things that go wrong with the order are not the server's fault, but the general public doesn't know that. This is the person we're in contact with, and this is the person we're going to blame if anything goes wrong. So if something's going wrong that's out of their control, if the server just takes the time to explain what's going on, that's going to save their tip. They might still get an average tip, not an above average tip, but that's going to save their tip. So it's going to take some communication and transparency. Well, I don't get that very often with servers. If we're just having bad service all around, the person is usually unavailable. Now, I don't like the one that comes by every 2 minutes that says, is everything okay? Is everything okay? You can actually do that way too much. When I have to stop chewing on my food to tell you it's okay, 3 times in 7 minutes, there's a problem, okay? That's just saturation. But when I want my pop or my water refilled, then I expect you to come by every so often and just check.
Look, I ordered coffee, right? Now, we've been here a long fucking time. She's only filled my cup 3 times. I mean, when I order coffee, I want it filled 6 times.
And that's something interesting, too, is, like, when we're out west and we're doing hiking and stuff like that, when we'll go out to eat, if I'm really dehydrated because I didn't drink enough water while we were out hiking or something, I might pound, 8 or 9 glasses of water while we're sitting there, especially if we're waiting on our food. And some of the servers will notice that, and they'll just keep coming by and filling the water. They're definitely getting a good tip from me. I've even had them leave a pitcher of ice water. Same thing when I'm on a road trip. If I stop to sit down at a restaurant, I might drink several different, pops to get that caffeine and sugar to kind of give me that energy boost. And if they keep refilling it, they're going to get a better tip. It's about going above and beyond. Now, I try to leave a cash tip whenever possible because the IRS wants these people to report their tips on their wages as their income and get taxed on it. And I think that's horseshit. Nobody who gets any tip of any sort, especially a cash tip, but any tip, should have to report it as income. That's the way I feel about it, and I don't think my mind is going to change on that.
I mean, I'm very sorry the government taxes their tips. That's fucked up. That ain't my fault. I mean, it would appear that waitresses are one of the many groups the government fucks in the ass on a regular basis. I mean, if you show me a piece of paper that says the government shouldn't do that, I'll sign it. Put it to a vote, I'll vote for it. But what I won't do is play ball.
There's plenty of people that weasel out of paying taxes. Like, if you work for cash under the table, that's not a tip. That's your wage. You should be taxed on it. That I don't agree with. But the tip on the side, especially if you're working at a job where they're, saying the harder you work, the better tips you're going to get because we ain't going to pay you a lot per hour. I don't think that shit should be taxed. I just don't. I don't agree. It's like getting a cash gift. If your grandma gives you $20 for your birthday, are you gonna have to pay income taxes on that shit? You know what I mean? So it's the same sort of thing. And for me, a tip is just that. It's something above and beyond that I choose to give you. I am not obligated to give you. When I go somewhere and they go, a 15% gratuity fee will be added to your bill, or a 15% gratuity fee will be added to your bill for parties over so many people. Nobody's getting a tip. I don't give a fuck. If you're automatically taking the tip out, you're not getting a fucking tip. And it's going to be on my fucking credit card. There's a record of it. That's part of the reason why I believe in leaving a cash tip. Not just so they can have the money right away, but also because there's no record of it and there's no digital footprint. Now, the one exception to that is, let's say we get a $100 gift card for a restaurant and the meal only turns out to be $75. We'll tell them to just keep the rest of the card. So there is a digital footprint on that, but hell, it's a $25 tip. And I understand, too, that sometimes they have to give some to the busboys and stuff like that, so they don't get to keep all of it. But the whole point is that if you bust your ass and you're at a place that is popular or busy, you should be able to make a pretty decent living off of your tips. Just saying. So I tend to, that's just kind of my general rule of thumb when we're at a restaurant. I mean, we can get out the calculator app and figure out 10, 15, or 20% of a bill, or we can just make a decision and kind of estimate or something. It just really depends on how good of a server they are. I don't have food delivered very often because I don't want to leave a tip. I don't want to pay extra for it. And my wife, she'll have food delivered. We don't do it very often, but she'll be the one who says, nope, we're having it delivered. Now, she'll give them a small tip, because I used to deliver pizza and I know what it's like and the wear and tear in your vehicle and all the other horse shit, I will go out of my way to be the one to give them a tip when they show up if I'm home, and I will give them a bigger tip than she will. She tips the same as I do at the restaurant, but for food delivery, she just doesn't get it. She never had to do that stuff for a living. So I will tip even though I don't like it. And the other reason I don't like food delivery, it's kind of a side note, is if the place is 3 miles down the road and I call it in for pickup, it's ready in 10, 15, 20 minutes, right? Something like that. If I call the same order at the place for delivery, it's 45 minutes or more. Why am I going to wait 90 minutes for something I can get in 15 myself and not have to leave the tip? So that's why I typically just don't go for food delivery. It's just, I didn't grow up with it, and it's just not my thing, right? But I do believe that, especially for food delivery or for somebody waiting on you at a set-down restaurant, a tip is something that can say, job well done, much appreciated, as much as it can say, you suck. I mean, I don't know if I've ever actually left a penny as a tip, but that would be my way to insult somebody. Or if 20% of the meal would be $10, and I leave them a $1 tip, that's my way of saying fuck you, asshole, because you were too busy in the back making smoke breaks instead of refilling my drink. So it's just, and other things too they can do to help with the tip is, say they screw up your order and they knock something off your order, or like when we go to Olive Garden, if they bring us extra salad or extra rolls or breadsticks or something like that, they're going to get a good tip. So there are ways that they can go ahead and manipulate things, and it might cost the company some money, but who gives a fuck, and get themselves a good tip. Something else interesting about that experience at the restaurant is you'll have the old people there at the restaurant, and they get their senior coffee and their senior meal and all that, right? They pay less than I do, and maybe it's a little bit smaller meal, but overall, you will hear these people demand they get their senior price on their stuff, right? And when it comes time to pay the bill, they'll pay in cash, of course, but they'll leave a tip, and they'll pull a wad of money out of their pocket that'll make a drug dealer jealous, right? I mean, old people walk around with $100 bills and lots of cash on them at all times. They grew up in a depression. This stuff stays with them. And if you're an older person, you say, I don't do that. I live on a fixed income. I don't have all that extra money. Then you fucked up somewhere in life, because the old people that live around here are all fucking wealthy. I'm not necessarily going to be wealthy. I think I'll still be comfortable when I'm in that position. But if I'm the cheapskate leaving the $1 tip, it's not going to be because I got a roll of hundreds in my pocket. It's going to be because I fucked up too. Regardless, these people can afford it. They most definitely can afford it. But they leave the stingiest tips. And I understand they're older, they look at money differently, but I don't care. That's just bullshit. If I'm leaving a $10 or $20 tip, Grandpa, and I only got a roll of hundreds in my pocket, I think you can do a little bit better, right? And you can't take it with you. The other thing, too, is when I see these same old people in Las Vegas, they're there, dumping all their kids' inheritance in a slot machine and smoking themselves to death, dragging around their bottle of oxygen and shit like that, right? When a cocktail waitress comes by, they'll get their drink, and they won't tip, or they'll leave $1, right? When a cocktail waitress comes by, we'll leave her like $10. And if she keeps bringing us drinks, if we get a little bit more inebriated, we might start leaving bigger tips. You see, if they bring us 2 drinks and we give them a $10 tip, those 2 drinks might have cost us as much as $40 at the bar at that same casino. So if I'm getting the drinks for 1/4 the cost, you're damn right I'm going to leave her a tip. And sometimes we'll ask them if they'll bring us 2 drinks each, right? They're not supposed to. But if they keep coming back and we keep giving them tips, they'll be like, yeah, okay, what? And we'll end up with 4 drinks. So maybe they'll get a $20 tip or something, and they're going to bypass Grandma and Grandpa and keep coming to us because we're the ones giving out the tip. Meanwhile, these old people, they're not doing it. And the thing is, you can gamble slowly, and you can even gamble and win all your money back and cash out. Meanwhile, what you paid for drinks is a lot less, and somebody brought them to you as well. So overall, we kind of got a system. It's worked for years. One time we were at a casino, a small one, and it was near the hotel we were staying at, so we didn't care if we got all messed up because we could literally walk across the street, and nobody was tipping these cocktail waitresses except us. So we had 3 cocktail waitresses waiting on us in this casino, not going to anybody else. And I'm like going, what is going on? And like, well, you guys are the only ones giving us tips. They got us plastered. They kept bringing, our drinks are stacking up next to the slot machines because they're bringing them faster than we can drink them. Oh my goodness. So, good times, man. Good times. So sometimes tips can help do that. They can help make that time better and just have a little bit more fun. One last thing about tips, especially when it comes to food, is that when you go to a fast food restaurant, some of them have a policy where they'll bring the food to you, or some of them will bring the food to you if maybe they're a little bit slow in the back, or they only got part of your order ready. You don't tip those people.
You don't have any idea what you're talking about. These people bust their ass. This is a hard job.
So is working at McDonald's, but you don't feel the need to tip them, do you?
Right? And nor really should you. It's fast food. It's a fast food restaurant. It's in today's prices, it's already expensive enough, kind of ridiculously expensive for what you get. But if they're going to bring me food at a fast food restaurant, just bring our order over, that's one thing. If they're going to go ahead and fill our drinks and keep refilling them for us, maybe then I would start leaving a tip at the fast food restaurant. But that's one place I don't feel obligated. In the same way I didn't feel obligated when I'm picking up my own fucking pizza. I know it's been kind of long, but I had a lot to unpack there. Thanks for listening.